A includes Catherine, Kiera, Lashina, and Moshi. Our group proudly presents our project called CommonThreads. Our project demonstrates the common threads between our lives and the great creative influences of Sigmund Freud, Pablo Picasso, T.S. Eliot, Igor Stravinsky, Martha Graham, and Mahatma Gandhi through the use of photomosaics onto T-shirts. Our critical and creative thinking is shown in each T-shirt, which bears the likeness of ourselves, as well as the famous creators that we studied this semester. Each photomosaic is made from up to 298 photos and have been compiled to compose each face, which was then imprinted onto cloth. The 298 photos were made up from various pictures from each of us in Team A, as well as pictures from each of the 7 famous creators. We wanted to convey our commonalities through photos and fabrics. Dwight Yoakam once said, "We share something in common with the fabric of the whole universe that connects us." You may be asking, why T-shirts? We use T-shirts as a medium to display our art because one thing that each of us has in common is that we have all worn clothing at some time. For example, Freud often wore suits and ties, but Gandhi would stitch his shredded clothes himself and enjoyed wearing neatly washed cloth. Martha Graham performed her ballets in magnificent costumes, and Stravinsky was even linked romantically with the famous French fashion designer Coco Chanel. As for us, our fabrics include Moshi's wearing a uniform to represent our country's armed forces. Lashina's threads have recently included maternity wear, and Kiera owns a successful T-shirt company. Some people weave burlap into the fabric of our lives, and some weave gold thread. Both contribute to make the whole picture beautiful and unique. After reading Gardner's book, Creative Minds, we now know that each of us have something in common with these great influential masters, and each of them also have things in common with one another. It is a common thread of humanity that eternally connects us all. Our project will show and explain these common threads. We hope you enjoy our project.
I am Lashina Simmons Dukas, and I find Martha Graham extremely fascinating. She was born in 1894. Like Freud and Einstein, she was deeply loved by her parents. Her childhood and teenage years were divided between religiously strict small-town living outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the freedom and beauty of Santa Barbara, California. Like Graham, I too had a childhood that was divided between the religiously strict confines of my mother's Jehovah's Witness suburban home and the freedom and adventure of my father's non-religious inner-city household. Like her as well, it was my father who has had great influence on my life. It was when Graham saw the exotic and talented Ruth St. Denis perform that she decided to make dancing her life's pursuit. In 20 years of living, she had had one single dance lesson, but her determination was true. I share a kind of seemingly far-fetched aspiration with her, as I was not raised in the church and for the most part experienced a lot of anti-religious sentiments from my father, yet felt a calling to pursue a personal calling to ministry when I was 20 years old. Graham went on to become an instructor, choreographer, and world-known dancer. Her artistic influence is likened to that of Picasso. Just as his creative genius left a mark on modern visual arts, Graham's innovative dance style, which was a movement language that used the human body to convey inner emotion, transformed American modern dance. Graham was a bit narcissistic, hot-tempered, and like Einstein and Gandhi, placed work and personal ambition before relationships and other pleasures. Nevertheless, her creative genius and tenacity brought emotional expression to modern dance. Another common thread she and I share is that we both pursued a degree to satisfy our parents, but were determined in the end to travel our own roads and pursue our own interests. I am Lashina Simmons Dukas, and I will be talking about the life of Picasso and some common threads that are found between other creators, him and myself. Pablo Picasso was a child prodigy / visual artistic genius that helped transform the way the world views art. He was born in 1881 in Spain. He shares several commonalities with Igor Stravinsky. Both performed pretty poorly in school. Picasso had a learning problem, but was able to perfect his talent as an artist through his father's help, who was an art teacher, and through connecting with scholarly artistic communities that shared his passion and interest in painting. Both Stravinsky and Picasso chose Paris as the place where they would develop their skills, and both were said to be philanderers. Different from Freud and Einstein, Picasso's contribution to the world was artistic, not scientific in nature. Picasso was pretty successful in the art world by the time he was 20. He saw painting as a kind of sexual activity and was said to use his wives and mistresses as muses for his art, though many of them walked away from their relationship hurt and in some cases committing suicide. Picasso contributed over 50,000 pieces of art to the art world. His co-invention of the art style of Cubism solidified his career as a phenomenal artistic innovator. Having a true mark of a creator, he doesn't fit into one genre or artistic style. His work was boundless, transcending any one group. So even though he was not a man of great moral character or virtue, even though he used his relationships for his own personal advancement, his artistic contribution and innovation left a mark on the world, introducing the world to a new visual art form. A common thread he and I share is that we both carry our paternal last names. Picasso drops his father's last name, Ruiz, becoming known to the world as Pablo Picasso.
I am Kira Morrison, and my creative thinker is Igor Stravinsky. Igor Stravinsky was one of the greatest composers, pianists, and conductors of the 20th century. His work, The Rite of Spring, was not received well by the audience during the initial performance in 1913. However, 25 years later, filmmaker Walt Disney was introduced to the avant-garde score. Disney fused the thrilling roller coaster composition with his film Fantasia, making The Rite of Spring one of Stravinsky's most notable works. It has been noted music was a passion for Stravinsky, and although not gifted with the skill of playing, producing, or composing, the appreciation and adoration I have for the art is comparable. Both of our most vivid memories involve sound, which I can imagine fueled Stravinsky's desire to learn more, as it does my desire to support the producers of the harmonious talent. Stravinsky and I were born in the month of June and are both parents. We both found support from other family members as children. Stravinsky's uncle and my aunt were encouragers of our passion. He was romantically involved with designer Coco Chanel, and her perfume, Chanel No. 5, is one of the most sweet-smelling aromas I have ever worn. Stravinsky died an American citizen, and I was born a citizen. Igor Stravinsky's work revolutionized music, and his influence can still be seen and heard worldwide to this day.
Hello, Moshe Kirkland from Team A here. The two thinkers that I have the most in common with are Albert Einstein and T.S. Eliot. Einstein was born on March 14, 1879 in Ulm, Germany. His parents, Harman and Pauline, were secular Jews, and he grew up in this belief system. His most notable accomplishment was the special and general theory of relativity, which changed the paradigm of the whole scientific world on the nature of the universe. Eliot was born in St. Louis, Missouri on September 26, 1888. He was one of 7 siblings born to Henry and Charlotte Eliot. The Eliot family was religious in the Christian faith and was actively involved in their community and the education system. Eliot was best known for his poem, The Love Song of Alfred Prufrock, which is considered the defining work of the modernist poetry era. The common threads between Albert Einstein and T.S. Eliot begin with them both being born in the late 19th century. Both gentlemen were married twice. Both Einstein and Eliot were greatly affected by the events of World War II, and both men were opposed to Nazi Germany and denounced fascism. Comparing myself to these two geniuses kind of seems to be a bit far-flung here. Einstein and I both shared the dislike of school. In my younger years, I dreaded going to school, and this did not change until my college years. Albert was also disinterested in the organized education system. Both of our favorite subjects were math and physics. If I had time between classes during my undergrad years, I would frequently go to the library and read his theories on relativity. Having only been exposed to Newtonian physics in high school, Einstein's theories just fascinated me. T.S. Eliot and I share the basic commonality that we are both American-born and raised. We also never had children. Also, I enjoy writing, although much more in my younger years than now. It just seems that I do not have the time these days. I have a novel written, but never got it published. Another similarity is Eliot and spiritualism. Though I am not a Christian, I do enjoy reading all the various holy books and mythologies, such as the works of Dante and Milton, that seem to have intrigued us both.
Hi, I'm Catherine Fink. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian psychiatrist who was born in 1856. Freud is best known for developing the theories and techniques of psychoanalysis. I have in common with him that both of our last names begin with the letter S. We are both also the firstborn children to our mothers. When Sigmund was just a year old, his mother gave birth to a baby named Julius. Similarly, when I was just a year old, my mother gave birth to another baby named John. Both of us experienced jealousy and resentment because of our brother's birth. Both Sigmund and myself each had our own bedroom growing up. Sigmund Freud was fascinated with the military, and my career has included serving our nation's military as a flight attendant. Freud and I also share in common that we both have enjoyed active social lives. Freud was a member of a Jewish social club and attended bi-monthly meetings regularly for most of his life. And I was once part of a group called the Presbyterian Women, and have also enjoyed being part of a sorority and many women's groups. Mahatma Gandhi was born in 1869 and was a revolutionary religious leader who used his power for political and social reform. He was the primary leader of India's independence movement. His practices of nonviolent civil disobedience have influenced the world. I have in common with Gandhi that both of us are born on a Friday. Both of us are considered average students when we were younger, and both of us are parents to a son, although Gandhi had 4 sons and I only have 1. Gandhi identified industrialization with materialism and felt that it was a dehumanizing menace to man's growth. I also believe that technological advances can adversely affect our abilities to communicate with one another. Freud and Gandhi were similar in many ways. Freud was at one time considering becoming a lawyer, and Gandhi was a lawyer. Both men practiced self-restraint. Gandhi frequently fasted and took a vow of poverty and chastity, while Freud, it could be argued, wasn't as good at self-restraint, but he actually credited his heavy cigar use for his capacity for hard work and self-control. Freud saw a connection between his cigars and his success, and a catalyst for his work. Did you know that both men's lives ended at the hand of a man instead of natural causes? In 1939, Freud was suffering from mouth cancer and was given 3 heavy morphine doses by Dr. Max Schur. Freud slipped into a coma and never awoke. And in 1948, Gandhi was assassinated by a Hindu extremist. He was shot 3 times in the chest at close range. Some differences between Freud and Gandhi include that Gandhi was married at the very early age of 13, whereas Freud married later in life at the age of 30. Freud was Jewish, and Gandhi was of the Hindu religion, and me, I'm Christian. I hope that I have demonstrated that Freud, Gandhi, and myself all have common threads.
Freud, Einstein, Picasso, Stravinsky, Eliot, Graham, and Gandhi have all contributed greatly to the various fields in which they were gifted and skilled. Creative innovators and child prodigies they were, yet their experiences, personalities, upbringing, and educational backgrounds expose common threads that is shared with members of Learning Team A. Albert Einstein once said, "When you examine the lives of the most influential people who have ever walked among us, you discover one thread that winds through them all." Through our project, we have grown aware of the commonalities that exist among 7 of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century. Gratefully, though, we have also found common threads that tie our lives to such influential creators as shown in the seamless weaving together of the picture mosaics on fabric and the facts of their lives with the characteristics of our own. While Einstein was right in recognizing the thread that winds influential thinkers together, members of Team A believe that common threads exist whereby all lives can be woven together. Collectively, that being the various cloths or literal threads we, like the creators, wore from day to day, yet individually in personal and unique ways. So as we bring our presentation to a close, we hope you have enjoyed hearing about the lives of the creators and the common threads that are shared amongst them and us.